To kick us off, we have a great group of panelists today who, as we were talking about before, and frankly, each of our speakers has talked about this morning, Secretary, Director Barnes, the Surgeon General, Senator Harkin, great to be here, Secretary Jackson, Director Kurlikowski, CEO Velasco. It was so wonderful that everyone really stressed the fact that we all have to work together on implementation, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So thanks all for sitting here, and I'm going to sit too. As we heard this morning, that we really all need to work together to weave prevention into the very fabric of our lives where we live, work, learn, and play. And how to do that, the strategy presents specific recommendations and a set of actions that many of our partners can take, both actions that our federal government will take, because obviously it's incumbent upon us as we release this strategy to provide that leadership, but partners, whether they be public sector, private sector, at every level of government, really have something to do, whether they, in their services they provide, the policies they make, as an employer, there's so much to be done, whether you're a health commissioner, from the business sector, on the ground delivering services, there's so much to be done. So I'm really glad to hear about the lessons that you all bring to us, the ideas you all have for all of us, and I think our last question about the obstacles, the challenges that we face every day, and we will face implementing this, and how we can do that. So implementation is the key, and I just want to introduce very quickly, and then we will have individual short presentations by each of our panelists, and then some question and answer, fairly informal process. Susan Cooper is Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Health, who's done wonderful things. So she's a registered nurse, real work on the ground, as well as the policy work you do in creating Get Fit Tennessee. You've been a faculty member as an assistant dean of practice at Vanderbilt University, and extensive experience. Dr. Chowdhury is a medical scientist from IBM, but also has a phenomenal career and expertise in health information technology. So both we will capitalize on your knowledge from the private sector, as well as how health information technology can help us along the way. Colleen Hayden is the program manager for Project Uniform, and I will read now. Undoing nicotine influence from our respected military. As an American citizen, I think a healthy military is really, really important. As we've worked across the council and our council member and partner at DOD, many of us are the provider of services or policies, but in a certain sense, health is important for your input in the military, your input being the greatest resource we have, the labor of our military forces, the people who serve. So thank you very much, and we'll hear more about your experience there. Jonathan Lever, who's Vice President for Health Strategy and Innovation at the YMCA. I did grow up with a traditional notion of the Y, and have learned so much in my adult life about the great services you provide, the lifestyle services you really provide. And as we talk about the transformation of our health system in the doctor's office and outside, the Y provides some great activities. Obviously, we work together on the diabetes prevention program. There's others. We'll hear from you on how these things can work. Auxiliaris Barbeau, Dr. Barbeau is Commissioner of Health for Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, for the last year. Before that, I had the pleasure of knowing her in New York City, where she was medical director of our school health program. And I say our because once upon a time we worked together on that, and she is wonderful in so many areas. And we'll hear about your work there in Baltimore, and on the challenges of really addressing the health disparity issues as well. And I'll count on you as we go along the way. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Cooper to start us off.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, everybody. We're really excited as health officials to come to this federal kickoff of a national plan for prevention and health promotion. From the governmental public health section at the state level, we've been doing this for a long time. And it's really great to have this national attention on breaking down the silos that we've been working on in each and every one of our states. I've been asked to talk a little bit about some of the innovative programs we have in Tennessee, and many of you would say, well, why in the world would you have somebody from Tennessee up here talking about health and fitness? Because if you look at every single map, we seem to be in the zone, you know, the stroke zone, the heart attack zone, the obesity zone. You call it the stroke belt, the heart attack belt. We used to call it the loosening belt where we live. But I'm here to tell you that folks in Tennessee have really made a commitment, not just at the state level, because improving health doesn't sit with the department. It really sits with each and every resident that we have in our state. So leadership came from the top. Our governor has kicked off his governor's task force on health and wellness. I want to talk about just a few things that have happened over the past 4 years. You know, we made a strategic decision in our state. Nobody wanted to talk about diabetes. Nobody wanted to talk about obesity. So what we decided to talk about was fitness and health and fitness, and trying to find something that would resonate with every single person in our state. And we set our strategies just very, very simple, something that the average Tennessean could understand. We were going to work on physical activity, nutrition, and decreasing tobacco use in our state. And again, in context, being one of those states that grows tobacco, these were some monumental challenges for all of us. And our plan was to create what we called social change. Social change, not just by raising awareness, but helping every Tennessean take that first step to improving their personal health. By starting their journey, it would create a change in the health of Tennessee. When we put our initiatives together, we kind of used the frame of the 3 Ps, not what you used in business school about price and placement and those things, but policy, programs, and partnerships. First, we wanted to integrate health into all policies across all divisions of state government, and then assess the impact of those policies. Second, we wanted to build and utilize the evidence base by the programs that we were going to design. And then partnerships, building coalitions that could work and succeed together. And in building these coalitions, our focus was not on who you were and who you represented, but what was the outcome we desired. And in fact, I looked at Jonathan down here because one of the examples in Tennessee, I actually coached the Pioneering Healthier Communities project in the state. And so these were some non-traditional relationships that started to build. When we looked at the state, our message was simple. If our mission at the Department of Health was to protect, promote, and improve the health of all Tennesseans, we needed to commit to, as a state, to improving the health of everyone. And our relevant message and our platform was, let's get fit Tennessee. Very simple. And we needed everyone to do their job, you know, every Tennessean. And it was an extraordinary journey. So a few of the programs that came out, we have Get Fit Tennessee, which started as an awareness campaign. Now it's an interactive tool online. So any Tennessean, free of charge, can log on to our Get Fit Tennessee website. We have health and fitness tools that are interactive. We have a kids section where we've got kids and their parents rolling their fitness dice on the computer and then doing jumping jacks or push-ups. I always happen to get the sit-ups, you know, to try to educate families that fitness can be fun. We have 100 different activities loaded in where you can get fitness points based on time, number of steps, distance that you've gone. So you get, for an older American, if you want to clean the house or wash the car or play with your grandkids, you can get some fitness points, and you can create family challenges. We've got thousands of Tennesseans who are using this in their homes and in their small businesses for health and wellness programs. As the economy has kind of gone south a little bit, wellness programs were the first to go, and we believe that Tennessee should make a commitment to small businesses to help them succeed. Second, we have what we have just launched this past September, our physical activity and nutrition plan for the state, which is modeled just like this prevention strategy. It's called Eat Well, Play More Tennessee. What could be more fun than playing more? And it's on our website. It's divided into sections about where you work, where you play, where you live, where you learn, where you worship. And there are also strategies for vulnerable adults, because oftentimes we don't think about fitness in the context of other people's shoes when other challenges exist. We also have kind of that birth to death view on things. We've struck out on our breastfeeding initiatives to raise the mother's milk should be the first milk for every baby in the state of Tennessee, including a human milk project for babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. Partnering on top of that, we have a voluntary program called the Golden Sneaker Initiative, where we will partner with any licensed daycare in the state to promote physical activity, nutrition, and tobacco-free policies. And if the daycares implement the policies, they get a Golden Sneaker Award that they can use in marketing. Doesn't cost anything, but again, it's daycares, Department of Health, Department of Human Services, but parents that are really driving this process and encouraging their daycares to get fit. In our schools, we've looked at policies around our vending machines, what can be sold at daycares, getting physical activity back into the schools. We know that health is not only an outcome, but it's a driver. If children are healthy when they enter school and they graduate at a healthy weight, we know that during school they score better on their tests, they're more likely to graduate. If they graduate at a healthy weight, they become a member of a healthy workforce. So just, I could go on because over the past 4 years, what I will tell you is just focusing on tobacco-free policies, physical activity, and nutrition. We have seen our state in 4 short years move from 48th in the nation in health outcomes and health status to 42nd in the nation. And the good news is we didn't get better because somebody else got worse. We got better because we got better. Significant declines in diabetes, significant declines in deaths from cardiovascular disease, significant declines in tobacco use in our state. And we think this is Tennessee's journey to start for better health. So way to go, federal government. We need your help in helping us help our communities.
Well, I mean, you should wear your hat now.
And this is our Get Fit Tennessee hat, because we believe you should model your behaviors. So
as well as your hats.
We talk about Get Fit Tennessee.
No, I think you've done wonderful work in Tennessee, and it's an inspiration to so many of us. And so I thank you for that. I take away a couple of things in terms of simplicity. First step. Some of these things are challenging. And so giving people an entree is very important. Specific initiatives gives them something to grab onto. But I'm very interested when you talked about spreading policies through other departments. As you know, the National Prevention Strategy is across the federal government. The key really is to bake prevention into education, to housing, to transportation. Can you say a little more about that, but also, and in my normal challenging style, if you could give us some examples where people weren't necessarily so willing to bake health criteria into their own activities, and how you communicated that with them and got them on board.
So certainly one of the first things we did back several years ago was we launched something called Project Diabetes, because we had one of the highest diabetes rates in the nation. And in building those strategies, we really wanted to fund community-based activities that would either prevent or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes in our state. But if you think about it, the two ways to do that is really about physical activity and nutrition. And so these are both preventive health strategies and treatment strategies. And we knew we couldn't do it alone, because if we wanted to attack the adult diabetes rate, we had to work with the schools, because we knew we had a growing childhood obesity rate. So at the same time we were funding community-based initiatives, we worked with the legislature, and they passed the school vending machine laws that actually said in the elementary schools we took out the less nutritious foods during school hours. And then we also passed working with education, which was really a health initiative, looking at what could be sold. Getting physical activity back in the school. You think about the challenges educators have with meeting the No Child Left Behind rules, and they've got to get so much into a day. Well, how do you build physical activity into that? So we used some money, other than the legislative 90 minutes of physical activity a week, we actually funded a program through Project Diabetes where we worked with a company in the state and built an online program. It was called Go Try B Tennessee. We built it for teachers, and it has a physical activity section and a nutrition section and a wellness section where they can do little 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute brain breaks within their classroom day to show that people are getting physical activity during the day. So we tried to make it user-friendly and easy, where they said we don't have 90 minutes during the week. Well, we could find 5 minutes in the course of the day where the kids could get up and watch peer-led exercises. I'm doing my jumping jacks. You will find I'm a little passionate about this. But you just have to find creative solutions, because it's not that Tennesseans didn't want to do the right thing, they didn't know how to do it. And so we wanted to be that kind of support system that gave them some tools that could help them be successful.
I think it's a great point, empowering people with tools so that they can take that first step. Dr. Chowdhury, why don't you talk to us a little about your experiences and the challenges you faced and the challenges we might face and how we should overcome them.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Secretary Sebelius and Surgeon General Benjamin for the opportunity to participate in this announcement and their leadership. I'd also like to thank Senator Harkin for his long-standing leadership in this area. The U.S. healthcare system is obviously very good at producing care for complex, advanced disease. What we're far less proficient at is eliminating those sources of disease by preventing them and producing better health. And producing better health is really the purpose for any system of care and healing. Prevention and wellness have been touchstones for IBM across all of our activities in healthcare, and today I'd like to focus on 3 of those areas. So first, as one of the world's largest employers, IBM has made a commitment to creating a culture of health through prevention and employee wellness. Specific programs we've developed to support these initiatives include things such as deductible-free coverage for preventive services, healthy living rebate programs, which include preventive care rebates, as well as children's health rebates, which encourage families to eat healthier and exercise together to reduce the risk of obesity in children. For these types of healthcare rebate programs, we found that employees participating in the programs have had 19% lower increases in their healthcare costs compared to employees who do not participate. Over 90,000 employees at IBM now participate in fitness activities. We found that employees who are active for even 1 day a week have healthcare costs which are $535 lower per year than sedentary employees. And overall at IBM, the number of employees who were in high-risk health groups has decreased by over 50% through this focus on wellness and prevention. Second area I'd like to touch on is our support for shifting the healthcare system towards prevention and wellness nationally through partnerships which seek to support primary care. This is an area that IBM has been very strong on, and we feel is quite important towards the transformation of the overall healthcare system. In particular, we've supported the advancement of primary care medical homes across the country. We've supported initiatives ranging from Arizona to Vermont to help support the development of medical homes across the country. The third area we are supporting prevention and wellness in is by bringing innovation in these areas to the marketplace, such as creating advanced technologies which focus on identifying illness decades before they occur. IBM supports the National Prevention Strategy's goals for moving the country from a healthcare system structured around disease to one whose foundation is prevention and well-being. The opportunities before us are significant, but there's numerous challenges we need to overcome together. Perhaps the most fundamental of these is to integrate prevention and wellness across all levels of healthcare and society. Too often, prevention and wellness are considered as separate islands inside of the healthcare system, something that's only the responsibility of public health or primary care. Prevention and health can no longer be considered in this siloed fashion. They cannot operate as separate parts of the system. They must become fundamental properties of the system itself. IBM looks forward to continuing to meet these challenges and to support the transformation of health in the United States through prevention and wellness. Thank you very much.
That, I mean, it's wonderful and frankly an inspiration to create that culture of health at IBM, and thanks for sharing that. I'm going to limit my own questions to one as I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we have enough discussion and some questions after, but I do, in limiting to one request, if and then one question. If you have not documented those advances and in peer-reviewed journals or whatever, so we can build that evidence base, I think it's really great what you've done to really reduce healthcare costs, because it leads into my next question, which is how can we get all employers, frankly, they're not only private sectors, nonprofits, government, we're all employers, but how can we get businesses and employers to be more active in this area? Some great leaders, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, there are plenty of great leaders out there, but it's pretty complicated as healthcare costs rise, as the economy is tight. How can we get people to partner with us to implement the strategy from the private sector?
So when we describe a culture of health at IBM, one of the specific dimensions of that is what we describe as creating healthy people for high performance. And that really focuses on how do you structure a workforce for a 21st century economy in terms of its overall health, its health status, and its productivity. So this is something IBM believes is an important aspect of how we operate as an organization. So I think there's that insight into what health and wellness provide to us as a company. I think obviously it takes great leadership, which we're fortunate to have at many, many levels throughout the enterprise. And I think that, for employers, there is, again, a growing body of research literature around the benefits of investing in employee wellness programs. So overall, there's just many positive dimensions to adopting these types of programs, and they've been quite beneficial to us in our experience.
Great. Thanks. I'll hold all my other questions, but I'll round everyone up after so I can learn and share with all of us. Colleen, Colleen Hayden, why don't you tell us a little about Project Uniform, and speaking of your employees, you can tell us how this works.
Well, it works with me because I'm it. But first I just wanted to thank everyone for actually still being here, but also just thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this exciting day and to talk about Project Uniform. I come from a really small nonprofit, so this is a great opportunity. I also just want to take a moment to thank the men and women who are currently serving or who have served our nation's military. I wouldn't be here for a number of reasons if it weren't for you, so thank you. As was said, my name is Colleen Hayden. I'm from Project Uniform. Project Uniform was born out of a study that was done in the state of California a few years back, where we found that active duty military members living in California had a tobacco use rate that was twice that of our adult prevalence. The state of California Tobacco Control Program, being the innovators that they are, saw this as an opportunity to really work with a really important population within our state. We have a very large military communities there, and that's how our work began. A couple of years ago, we were also really fortunate to receive grant funding from the American Legacy Foundation to then take our project and the model and extend it nationally. So that was a huge opportunity for us as well. Our aim really is to create military-civilian partnerships as a means to address tobacco use within military communities. And I say military communities because although we do very much work with active duty service members, we also work with their families, we work with reservists, and we work with guardsmen and women. Our approach has been pretty much get in where you fit in. We initially started off meeting with people who would meet with us, and then it just blossomed and has become a much bigger program than we ever anticipated. We work on providing culturally appropriate cessation information and training to military cessation programs. And this culturally appropriate part you're going to hear me mention frequently because it's a very important part when you're working within military installations, but also when you're working with military service members as well. We encourage non-traditional partner development, and this is very important because sometimes there will be one person on an installation of 50,000 people, and that one person is providing all of the tobacco cessation for anyone who wants it. So rather than, we know money is very tight for everyone, so we've really encouraged non-traditional partners so that people that you might not normally think of could become brief interventionists and could give information about how to get the message out about tobacco cessation and how tobacco really does affect readiness and one's ability to do one's job. We very actively collaborate with military support networks, and this is vital because when someone is in the military, it obviously affects them, but it also affects all of their family, and it's really important to be inclusive of those folks. And then possibly one of the most challenging parts of my job, but I love it, is to educate civilian tobacco control and public health professionals and personnel to the culture and existing services within the armed forces of the United States. This is something that is near and dear to my heart and is a very important part of the work that we do. And it's led to collaborating with so many partners, everyone from DoD to individual installations in California and throughout the country, to working specifically with tobacco quit lines and having the counselors at that level understand that, a 22-year-old who is graduating from college and who has lived in his parents' basement for his or her entire life may be really different than a 22-year-old former Marine who's just getting out of the Marine Corps and has had a few tours of active duty and possibly seen combat. It's important to understand those cultural differences, so we've done a lot of work with the quit lines. We've also started collaborations that address the very specific quit needs of student veterans, and if you all haven't seen that increase in your state, get ready. The number of student veterans is increasing dramatically, and what we've found is that health centers on college campuses are having a very difficult time reaching out to student veterans in the world of tobacco cessation and prevention. And in the end, it's these collaborations that we believe are going to create the healthier environment and offer tobacco quit resources to military communities, while also encouraging civilian programs to be inclusive of current and former service members at the local, community, and state levels. My parent organization is CYAN, and we work with youth, young adults, and college students in tobacco prevention and advocacy and social media. So we, just by nature, are used to having an interdisciplinary approach. So I'm so thrilled, after hearing everything today, that everyone federally and nationally is supportive of interdisciplinary work, because for us, and I know for Project Uniform, it's really the only way we're able to successfully accomplish what we'd like. So thanks.
Thanks. And my two observations, one is, again, the partnerships are key, so I hear it again and again, and as we open up the discussion later, I'd love to hear some questions and thoughts about that. I will also take away this phrase, get in where you fit in, which sounds a lot more straightforward than opportunistic.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that. If we could, for a second, talk about community-based organizations. Like small businesses, community-based organizations are busy with their own mission. What do you think is the best way that they can take ownership of this strategy, and that we can partner with community-based organizations, all of us, meaning we can partner with community-based organizations to implement activities aligned with the strategy?
I think that the best thing anybody can do when working with community-based organizations is to actually get the community-based organizations involved. A lot of times people, I include myself in this, you think, I've got all this great idea, I maybe have some initials after my name, I'm an expert in what I do. None of that really matters a whole lot to somebody who's in a community, who's in the trenches, and who's living the reality. So you have to kind of put that stuff aside and get down and get people involved in what you're doing. So if you have a board, for example, with Project Uniform, if you have a board, it's really important that you have people who represent the community that you're working with on your board. If you're trying to work within a community on actually any of the things mentioned in the prevention strategy, you need to really kind of get real with people and sit down with them and ask them their opinion and talk to them about the document and talk to them about, what do they think? Because they're the experts, they're there. What do they think? And kind of meet people where they're at, not where we wish they were. I mean, I think that's probably my best advice.
It is great advice. Thank you very, very, very much. And I just want to say, it's such a great panel of committed people who've had success, but from diverse places. So we go from Project Uniform, as you say, I'm it, to the Y, which is pretty big. So let's hear, Jonathan, you can share some of your experiences from the larger side of the not-for-profit world.
Great, thank you. I'm really humbled and honored to be here to talk about the YMCA's prevention efforts. About 60% of U.S. households are located within 3 miles of a YMCA. So we feel like we have an opportunity, but also a significant obligation to really step up our work in prevention. And I really appreciate your comments at the beginning, Andrew, where you said you thought about the why and you didn't always think about it as a place where you maybe go for prevention. And I'd say for nearly the last decade, the Y has really been working hard to really transform itself into not just a great facility, but a real force in public health. So that's been on our agenda, and I think we've been relatively quietly trying to do that. I wanted to talk about partnerships, because that's what I was asked to talk about. But I really want to talk about it in sort of 2 buckets. Partnerships that relate to what I would describe as more community-focused efforts of the Y, so things that happen at large in the community. And then the second bucket is really around prevention efforts that focus on individuals and families related to behavior change. So let me talk about the partnerships in those 2 buckets, with the recognition that we believe that you have to have both. You've got to have the community-wide efforts to make the healthy choice be the easy choice. But if you just have all these walking trails, and if you just have great zoning laws, that doesn't mean necessarily that people are going to take advantage of those opportunities. So you really have to have, to your point, policies and programs. So when we think about community-wide efforts in terms of the WISE partnership, I think we have been really blessed to be working with the CDC for almost 8 years in our Healthier Communities work, some of the work that you had mentioned early. Thanks to that partnership, we've got over 190 communities around the country focused on 6 states really focused on policy systems and environmental change work. And we've been able to attract additional funding with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and we did some analysis of this work over the past couple years, and we've documented 14,000 policy systems and environmental changes impacting 34 million lives, primarily in the areas of physical activity, healthy eating, and tobacco cessation. And the beauty of this is no one actually really knows that this happened. Right, because it's sort of in the background. It's policy systems, environmental change work, and so changes have been made, and now people just are having more opportunities, and they may not even know about it. So the CDC has really been an absolute pillar for us in our work. The other one, which is, or another one, which folks may not know about, may sort of seem a little atypical, is we have been working very actively with the Department of Defense, providing military families and active duty men and women membership and respite care services through the Y. So military families as well as active duty can take advantage of free memberships at the Y as well as in our child care programs. That has served 44,000 military families and 68,000 children. And we're very proud of the work that we've been able to do with the Department of Defense. Another really cool partnership that is related to that is some work that we've been doing with the Sierra Club and the National Military Family Association that provides 7,000 military children the opportunity to go to YMCA camps. And I'm about to go to Y Camp with my family next week, and I can tell you there's no better, richer, more exciting experience than going to camp. Our Armed Services YMCA has worked with the Navy to help solve the fitness issue, because many of folks that were coming were not actually prepared to do their job. And so we've been working, for instance, with the SEALs to help them pass their fitness tests, and that work has helped them move from a pass rate of 34% to 93%. and we all love our Navy SEALs. So that has been fabulous work. We've also been working at the community level, sort of with the USDA, expanding the National Summer Food Service Program so that kids who get healthy meals during the school year can continue to get those meals even during the summer. And we've also worked with the Department of Interior through the Outdoor Alliance for Kids, really to get, we have this phrase, to get their nature on, to help kids get outside and take advantage of the outdoors. I think it was just last week the Alliance was on the White House lawn, and there was a huge rock climbing wall. So that has been able to infiltrate the public perception as well. So that's related to the community. We've also been working at the individual and family levels with a number of partnerships. Again, back to CDC, we've been working very intensely with the CDC on the YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program, which is part of the CDC's National Diabetes Prevention Program. And what we've really been able to do here is to take an evidence-based program that NIH proved worked, translate that into a community setting, offer the program in a community, in a group-based format, and to reduce the risk of people developing diabetes by nearly 60%. And we've been able to attract private payers so that payers are actually subsidizing this program for their insureds. We've been able to attract employers who are actually paying for this for their employees because, again, it's a evidence-based program. This program has been shown to actually have cost savings. The Urban Institute has estimated that about $100 billion can be saved through implementing this program. And Dr. Thorpe is about ready to release a paper showing really staggering numbers related to Medicare. The cool thing about this is it's also a performance-based program. So for employers or insurers who pay for their people, if the YMCA doesn't get results, meaning if the individual doesn't lose weight, the employer doesn't pay what they would pay if they actually didn't get the results. So everyone's interests are aligned, the participant, the employer, and the Y. We're also working with CDC on injury prevention. We're doing work with a number of partners around childhood obesity prevention programs. We're also working with the Livestrong Foundation, formerly the Lance Armstrong Foundation, to help people who are cancer survivors reclaim their health and well-being. And I guess the one lasting point I'd like to leave is for every one of these partnerships, we have leveraged significant private resources, close to $100 million over the last 5 or 6 years, that leverages these federal dollars in ways that if you just operate in the silo of government or just in the silo of the community-based organization, you don't have those leveraging opportunities. So if I were really good, I would get you all to stand up and do the YMCA thing, but I don't have music, so I'll turn it back to Andrew.
Well, and we are short on time, so I won't encourage you to do it, but it was so interesting. No. And given time, I'll skip to Dr. Barbeau, but also take the lesson that you've provided us in terms of leveraging private dollars. There is lots of broad interest in how to do that. Also come back to you to discuss the transformation of the Y into this, because as we work with other organizations trying to learn those lessons on how to focus on prevention in a different way than previously with the storied history, what motivates that, we can talk about, follow up, but I'm sure that's an important story and lesson for us to learn. Dr. Barbeau, why don't you tell us about your work?
Great, thank you. So I want to echo sentiments earlier about the honor it is to be here really during this historic launch. And I want to commend the Obama administration for its visionary leadership in codifying the importance of really promoting health across all sectors of society. And so today I'm here as Commissioner of Baltimore City and representing NACCHO, the National Association of County and City Health Officials, the group that represents the nation's more than 2,800 public health departments. And it's these city, county, metropolitan district, tribal departments that work every day to protect and promote the health and well-being of people in their communities. And we all recognize that local health departments are essential to seeing that the strategic directions and the priorities within this strategy result in improved health outcomes. And the central role for health departments is going to be doing what we do best, which is emphasizing prevention and quality health care, expanding access to care for all populations, and engaging communities. And so in Baltimore City, We have two neighborhoods that are 5 miles apart and have life expectancies that are 20 years apart. And they may as well be worlds apart because their socioeconomic demographics are so different. And it's statistics like these that give urgency to the work that we do, and it gives importance to having strategies that communities like mine can utilize across the country. And so in April, the Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, and I revealed or announced Healthy Baltimore 2015, which in many ways mirrors the National Prevention Strategy. And Healthy Baltimore 2015 is an aggressive plan for improving health outcomes and eliminating health disparities in Baltimore City. It highlights 10 priority areas for action that account for the greatest morbidity and mortality in Baltimore City. And within each of these 10 areas, we've identified aggressive benchmarks for improvement because they help to set the level of urgency in addressing ongoing disparities and health inequities. And so in addition to reporting on citywide data for each of the leading indicators within these 10 priority areas, we also include sub-analyses on disparities between groups. So for example, some of the greatest disparities will exist between, or do exist between, racial groups, but we also find that some of the more significant disparities are between groups who have differences in educational attainment as well as economic attainment. And so the reason for us doing this is to help our communities identify leverage points for action, because part of Healthy Baltimore 2015 is not just revealing a plan and throwing out data for academic purposes, but it's to really engage communities and to help various sectors of our society figure out, as Andy said earlier, figure out where you fit in and get to work. And so the leading indicators that we've chosen go beyond traditional health measures, and they explore the root causes that tend to drive health inequities, such as access to healthy foods, liquor outlet density, and vacant building densities. And so these are some of the things that our city is focused on in terms of reducing disparities. And we're adopting a health in all policies approach because it's clear that in addressing these long-standing disparities and inequities, you can't go about doing it through a traditional medical model, nor through a traditional public health model. And so as part of Healthy Baltimore 2015, we've convened a cross-agency health task force where the mayor has basically directed every agency head to assign a senior level decision maker to be at the table and incorporating health into their daily business. And so it sounds a lot like what is happening at the federal level. And so I think that there are opportunities for us to look at the feds for models, but also perhaps give some feedback about what works and what doesn't work at the local level. And so part of this process of engaging the various agencies is to document what agencies are currently doing in service of Healthy Baltimore 2015, as well as outlining what they can be doing over the course of the next year and the next couple of years in service of Healthy Baltimore 2015. And we're working with the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health, Bloomberg being a common name here for us, and to develop metrics, evaluation metrics about what difference this approach really makes, right? Are we successful in getting policies changed, not just internal policies, but policies at the city, state, and federal level? So in Baltimore City, we're all about pushing the envelope. And we've convened a similar group of clinical providers. And so I think one of the other things I'd like to share with the audience is that we also have embarked on what I think are pretty innovative private-public partnerships, and one in particular is aimed at reducing disparities in access to healthy foods, and it's our virtual supermarket known as Baltmarket. And let me just give you the short and dirty aspect of it. So we've partnered with an independent grocer, Santoni's, with the libraries, with the Department of Social Services, with MICA, who's our art school, nationally renowned art school. And we've all partnered in creating opportunities where individuals can go to their local library. We've got 3 of them so far. We also have a school, and go online, do their food shopping, and pay either by cash, credit, or their EBT card. And so we've worked with the USDA to really remove barriers about doing this at the local level. The next step is going to be helping the USDA figure out how we can remove that final barrier and have EBT payment online, as opposed to having to have someone sort of, in your face to pay. So I think in the interest of keeping it on time, I just want to say that Baltimore City stands with other local health departments in applauding the work of the Obama administration, and we look forward to really being an integral part of moving the agenda forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Always love public health, starting with the data and figuring it out, and what we need to learn from you ongoing. And we'll have a time if a few questions, maybe 1 or 2, if people feel free to come up to the mic. What I'd love to follow up with you on is how to engage other sectors in addressing health disparities. One of the challenges, maybe for after, so we can take some questions, but I think it really is one of the challenges in public health, a very common focus. The question is, as we work across sectors, working on those policy work. But why don't I let someone have a question, but just introduce that concept for people to think about and us to talk about later. But go ahead, please.
Excellent panel. I'm Mary Roy from the Office of Minority Health. I have one major question. You all talked about the different initiatives, and I'm impressed with all of them. I'd like to know about what baseline data measures do you have to compare to what you hope to accomplish in terms of outcomes? And I want to preface it by saying that if you're not familiar with the ACA healthcare reform, get familiar with the data component. We're really going to be looking to collect more data on race, ethnicity, sex, primary language, and disability status. So if you can include that in your data collection, if you haven't already, it would really help us out. Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more. In my progression in public health, starting off as a primary pediatrician and now as a health commissioner, I've come to learn that data is king. And there are a multitude of reasons to have really good data. And so as part of Healthy Baltimore 2015, we took great pains to have good data that reflects not only traditional public health outcomes, but the social determinants of health. And we've also worked on identifying data voids, right? So we're working with the Hopkins School of Public Health and their Center for Livable Future on getting a really good definition about what a food desert is and how it affects our communities and how we evaluate success in terms of getting supermarkets to our communities. I mean, it's as basic as that. So I applaud that. Yes, thank you.
And we can turn to our one last question.
Just had a question about budgets. I know Carl Muller with the Campaign for Public Health Foundation. I was curious about budgets. I know there's about 44,000 jobs lost at the state and local level for health departments across the country. The CDC's budget the budget authority was recently cut by 11% or $1.3 billion. Some of those funds made up with other areas of funding, but still a massive cut to budget authority, and talk of austerity looking forward into 2012 and maybe additional cuts headed depending on tax revenues and whatnot. Obviously there are a lot of things that are happening in the panel, from volunteering and working with corporate partners and whatnot. But could you talk a little bit about budgets and how your state or local budgets are faring, and how implementing this is going to happen in partnership with the austere measures we're looking at moving forward?
We'll let the state health official start. Yes.
State health official perspective.
Funny they'd pass it to me. So you're right, state budgets have, over the course of a number of years now, have been taking significant reductions. And in my state of Tennessee, we're a no income tax state on top of that. So we really went into the decline a little bit earlier than the rest of the country. The way we looked at our budgets were, what programs do we have that were not yielding any return on investment, either in cost avoidance or in health outcomes, and we got rid of them. And then we set priorities on, what are the most important things? What are those core programs that we have to keep in place? And we've been good fiscal stewards of the money. The current governor and the former governor both come from a business background, and so they've made some hard decisions related to the overall budget and the total budget. For us, the newest rounds of cuts, not just with all respect to our CDC partners, at the same time we're getting cuts from HRSA, we're getting the same level of cuts perhaps from ASPR, we're getting a same level of cuts from like Department of Homeland Security. So where it may look like you have a 20% cut over here, when you multiply it across an entire budget, it could have a significant impact of about 20% just on the last quarter of this fiscal year, which creates additional job losses, program shutdowns, and you just have to, set your priorities. Well, also in this next fiscal year, we have some one-time monies that will show up, but the following year, all those one-time monies will go away, which will result in our state in several tens of millions of dollars into our state-only dollars that'll be going away. So it's I think what you need to know is that state and local public health, not to speak on behalf of all of my colleagues, but I am the local health department in 89 of our 95 counties. They get up every day. They're the first ones who show up when there's an emergency, and they're the last ones to leave, and we're relying on our employees to bring us innovative solutions. We don't have all the answers, but at some point, there's got to be a critical mass that has to be in place in order to continue to carry out this work. And so we're hopeful things will change.
I appreciate here. I'll let you. So
I mean, I
think no. I mean, and I think just bringing it back, it's a very important question in our fiscal environment today. But bringing, as it relates to the strategy, again, as you said, your budget management technique is to focus on priorities, work with partners to get things done, and the strategy today and all of your experiences that you've all shared, and I thank you very much for that, really talked about the impact and maximizing the value of focusing on priorities and working with partners. So I just want to thank you all very much. I want to thank all of you for staying. It's really an historic day with the release of the National Prevention Strategy, the leadership of all my colleagues at the federal government and our partners and all of you has really been wonderful, and we look forward to working with all of you to move forward. And I want to, at the end of this event, thank the dedicated staff at HHS and CDC who've worked together to produce this strategy, because it's been a real team effort. And thank you all for coming. Have a great day.
Tregimi parë për sot, që do lexojmë, është një nga dy tregimet e shkurtra. I pari flet për lodrat e mia dhe quhet Hacacojmë shili. Ishte heder në dar, dhe bisnimi është në ocar. Bepinot dhe veron, jest cacoj mamon. Hashe lego bepina me khoni dhe hattana. Dof në khmat dhe lozanav, kele khum ve kamarnav. Dlishe liam bisnim catkhol, ve kadur cachov kachol. Puzzle цивонimi ец, ve balon shit poces. ומתחת לשולחן יש קטר אדום לבן, מכונית של כבאים, שוקולד מאוד טעים, ואפילו ביס גדול מהפיצה של אתמול. אז תגידו, זה בסדר? יש כל כך הרבה בחדר? זהו אוסף נהדר. יש בכלל, אני אבחר, טוב אולי יחליט מחר. Kysset tryggime par. Tryggime dyt, gjithashtu është një tregim I shkurtër dhe quhet Joni dhe Acfardea, që do të thotë Joni dhe Bretkoca. Jonja ka ta melodea, ma omeret Acfardea. Lo mumu ve gam lo hau, ga 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 ulaj mjau, lo ve lo më dia Joni. Acfardea lo kamoni, me daberet dhe omeret, kwa kwa kwa. Kwa 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 omeret hi, kole had javin oti, im kwa kwa omer tamid, כל חיה את זאת תגיד. לא מומו ולא מיהו, לא גגה ולא האו, קוקוריקו לא ולא, ממה איאון איאון, כל חיה תאמר לי, הצפרדע מקווה, כך כולם מזמן יודעים, מדברות הצפרדעים. איך יהיה נחמד יותר אם כולם נקרקר? יוני החמוד יודע שתמיד רק הצפרדע הירוקה מקרקרת קווה קווה קווה. To jest do tego też kurczę. Szpesoj to pëlqen.
Mientras que en otros temas, el secretario de Obra Pública del Estado, José Arturo Durán Miranda, señaló que hasta este momento la empresa CIPSA, originaria de Michoacán, quien se ha asociado con la constructora guanajuatense ERSO, están inscritas en la licitación del Hospital Regional de León, porque él no puede impedírselo. Esto debido a que CIPSA ha tenido un historial de irregularidades en otras obras en el pasado. Se le cuestionó sobre lo que dijo el gobernador Miguel Márquez de que el Estado no daría obras a constructoras que no cumplan con el tiempo marcado por la ley, las dejen inconclusas o con desperfectos. La empresa CIPSA fue sancionada por el municipio de Irapuato en la administración pasada al no concluir en tiempo y forma con la pavimentación de la calle Santo Domingo y la ampliación del bulevar Mariano J. García. La empresa que se asoció con la constructora promotora de desarrollo para realizar la obra del Parque Irecua a un costo de 200 millones de pesos, una de las obras emblema de Sixto Cetina, solicitó una prórroga más porque no han terminado las obras en los tiempos en los que se comprometió. Aunado a esto, suman retrasos también en la obra del Teatro de la Ciudad. Mucha obra para CIPSA, muchos incumplimientos, pero la siguen protegiendo. Esto dice el secretario de Obra Pública del Estado, Arturo Durán.
Está inscrito, solamente le tenemos el tema que la empresa está inscrita y está asociada en participación con una empresa de Guanajuato que es constructora ERSO. No está yendo sola porque no da la capacidad él solo para ejecutar la obra, entonces formó una sociedad con una empresa guanajuatense, constructora ERSO. Solamente le puedo decir que está inscrita, en este momento yo no puedo comentar, no puedo impedirle que se inscriba y al momento que tengamos la evaluación de sus propuestas, pues es un participante más de los 12 que están celebrando ya el proceso de licitación.
Nada más que algunos de los otros 11 dicen que ven muy sospechoso a CIPSA y su sociedad con ERSO. De acuerdo al secretario de Obra Pública, esta licitación se podrá conocer su resultado, quién es el ganador, en el mes de diciembre, a mediados de diciembre. Esperamos que no el 28 de diciembre, luego a esta administración le gusta mucho dar ese tipo de sorpresas. Es una obra de 860 millones de pesos. Agregó algo el secretario de Obra Pública.
La apertura de la licitación del hospital va a ser el 2 de diciembre y nosotros estaríamos dando el fallo del hospital aproximadamente el día 15 de diciembre. Es el tema, tenemos 2 semanas para evaluar las propuestas. Esperemos que presenten unas propuestas solventes y bien integradas para tener una evaluación correcta ya del ganador del hospital.